Fala aí meus queridos e minhas queridas, sejam bem-vindos a mais um vídeo aqui no canal Crash Bandicoot Brasil. E hoje estou aqui para trazer mais um vídeo peculiar com uma curiosidade muito bacana que surgiu há pouco tempo atrás aí. Bom, vocês lembram daquele vídeo do Crash to Insanity que trouxemos recentemente para vocês? Onde mostramos todas as novidades e conteúdo deletado mostrado pelo nosso querido Jon Burton do canal GameHut? Pois é meus queridos, ele está de volta e está aprontando ainda mais. Desta vez ele decidiu apresentar mais uma curiosidade, inclusive dessa vez uma curiosidade muito bizarra, no jogo Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex, que foi um outro jogo que a Traveler's Tales trabalhou. Bom, aparentemente enquanto ele continuava brincando com alguns dos protótipos dele, ele se deparou com um protótipo que continha esta versão deste boss aqui do jogo, mais especificamente o terceiro chefe, que é o da fase Crashes to Ashes, que como muitos de vocês devem saber, é aquela fase onde você usa aquele robozão amarelo para correr atrás do Crunch, tacando água nele, depois você foge do fogo, depois você vai atrás dele e por aí adiante. Bom, aparentemente esse chefe era para ser totalmente diferente, galera, então se liguem nesse gameplay junto com os comentários do nosso querido Jon. Lembrando mais uma vez que as legendas são geradas pelo próprio YouTube, então se vocês se depararem com qualquer tipo de erro de português, não me culpem, culpem o YouTube, pelo amor de Deus! Dito isso, bora dar uma olhada.
Hello, and I've been rummaging through the archives again, and I've managed to find a beta version, or what I think is a beta version, of Crash Bandicoot, the Wrath of Cortex. And I was having a look through it, and I noticed that one of the levels didn't look like it ended up. It didn't look like the final version. So let's have a look at this build, and I'll show you the level in question. Okay, so straight away you can see this isn't the final version because the logo doesn't appear that way. It looks the same, but it doesn't appear in the lab. It appears in space. So let's have a look at a new game. Let me just put my name in, and I'll cut out the loading times. So here we are at the hub. So let's have a wander around. Let's go in here. Does it have any level names? As you approach them, let's have a look. Yep, so it has level names. I'll come back out, I don't want to go into that level. So one of the things, let's just see, yeah, these are all fenced off as they should be, but obviously the logo gave away this clearly isn't a final version, and the more obvious hint is the debug options menu we have here. So lots of fun debug options in here, and one of them is go to level. So here's all the levels, and this level in particular, Crashes to Ashes. Let's have a look at it. So here we go, again I cut out the loading times. You can see that although you are being chased here, you are not on foot like in the final game, and you don't get into a mech suit like in the final game, you're in a jeep. So originally this level was envisaged as a jeep level, so obviously here we are blasting back down the level, firing blobs of green, which obviously became water with the mech suit in the final game. The camera's really interesting here, the way it turns, and then we just pause and it turns back the other way. So obviously clearly prototype, work in progress. There's no particle effects here, background effects, apart from what's on the boulder being thrown. You don't take damage when you hit. There's this really long pause in between sections of the stage, or loops of the stage. But let's see if I can hit him. I think if I'm going uphill here, I might be able to... Yeah, they look like they're hitting the back of him, although he didn't react in any way. And again, Crash just sits there happily in his jeep. Looks pretty dark in places too, but there is some lighting going on. No sound effects are present. I've added the music in the background, which is the music from the final level. So let's see, maybe this just loops forever and nothing, I can't get out the level. Let's try. No, I just bounce off the walls. Let's throw some more gloop and see if that does anything. I missed both times. Ah, great. So camera work again. In the final level, the camera wouldn't do a 180 degrees like that. In the final level you had different phases too. More boulders were thrown, boulders were dropped behind. There was like a a barrier of fire that moved up and down the level. So this is pretty early on. Now I've not looked in detail. I looked at a few levels on this build, and okay, so something's happened there. I don't know if I've messed that up, or I can still fire, still bring down the HUD. Oh, the Jeep's kind of spamming around the place. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is a bug, which is entirely possible, so let's restart the level and see if it's that I actually hit him enough times to defeat him. Let's try again, and I'll try and hit him. So yeah, I looked through other levels on the build and they looked pretty complete to me, so I just figured this was a near finished beta version. But this is obviously, well, went through some significant changes. You know, it still had all the particles to add, which doesn't take forever, and I probably did most of them. But certainly having Crash running around and getting into a mech, and then the mech firing water, and the damage, and the different phases of the attack. I think I just hit him 3 times there, so we'll keep an eye on how many times I hit him. And then the different phases of the attack, and him dropping bombs as he runs away, as well as throwing rocks as he runs towards you, means there's quite a lot of work to do. So that clearly points to me that this is a good number of weeks, if not months, away from final. So I'm going to have a good dig around the other levels as well and see if there's any other prototype stuff that ended up different in the game. I think that was 2 more hits, so that's 5. So I'm sure that would be pretty interesting to check out, so I'll do that when I have a spare minute. Let's just see if this, So he's not changed. I've done him 5 hit points of damage. He's not changed his attacks or anything. The animations are pretty basic. That's the end of his run. Let's see. So I think maybe a couple more hits would defeat him if there was a hit counter. Let's see. See that what? So that's 6 hits, and that's caused him to. I'm assuming this would then trigger the end of the level, or the boss being defeated or whatever. Also, I think because you're in a Jeep and travelling faster, you see more of the level up and down than you do in the final game, which is interesting. Okay, now how do I get back? There's no option in here. I need to go to the menu and select warp room, don't I? Okay, so that's all there was to it. Now you can see I've walked back behind the gate. I'll just run through. But that was interesting. So it's very, very much different to the final game. Very much work in progress. So I'm going to have a good route through this build and see if there's any other things. Obviously, let me know in the comments if there's anything you spotted just in the hub here that's not the final game. And as always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Rapaz, eu sinceramente acho muito bizarro isso. Você iria perseguir o Crash no seu Jeep, tá ligado? Meu, isso é muito estranho se pensar. E essas gosmas verdes que você taca nele? Obviamente essa versão se trata de um protótipo, como o próprio Jon mencionou. Então vários elementos ainda se encontravam incompletos, se encontravam meio defeituosos, então a gente precisa levar em consideração isso, galera. Mas de qualquer maneira eu achei bem interessante essa novidade, bem bacana, bem diferente também, pra falar a verdade. E eu sinceramente tô muito curioso pra saber o que o nosso querido Jon vai tirar de suas mangas nos próximos vídeos que ele irá trazer pra gente. Novamente, o link desse vídeo, juntamente com o link do canal GameHut, se encontra aqui embaixo na descrição e também vai aparecer no final do vídeo. Então não se esqueçam de se inscreverem nesse canal pra não ficarem de fora de nenhuma novidade. A gente tá falando aqui do diretor-geral da Traveler's Tales, galera. Ou seja, podemos aguardar aí por muitas novidades ao longo dos próximos dias. De qualquer maneira, se vocês gostaram desse vídeo, não se esqueçam de deixarem o like aqui embaixo, digam o que vocês acharam nos comentários, se inscrevam no canal, se vocês são novos, sejam muito bem-vindos, aqui trazemos tudo e mais um pouco sobre Crash Bandicoot. Não se esqueça de clicar em qualquer um desses vídeos que está passando na tela agora, juntamente com o canal do Jon, se inscrevam lá, fortaleçam porque ele merece, tá bom? Dito isso, eu vou me despedindo por aqui, então falou, até mais e tchau!